Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, that's G-R-A-N, group, at edinarealty.com, or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners.
Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, not Oakland, not San Diego. Anaheim Angels. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins drop 2 of 3 in L.A. to the Angels, Dan, and sadly, they now officially have a losing season with their 82nd loss on the year.
It does make you wonder if that matters to the players, like the finality of that, even though they have some, what it looks like 18 games, or 17 games left, or 16 games. I mean, it makes the math a little bit easier, you would think. But it is a losing season. I don't want it to get to 90, but I think it's probably gonna.
It seems that way, Dan, the way things are rolling right now. And you have to think, I forget who was on the radio call. I think it was Chris Atterbury, and he's like, the Twins really don't want to lose this one because they really don't want to have that losing season. Do you really think anybody on this roster thinks the Twins are going to win out to finish at 500, Dan?
Don't give me hope.
I don't think so. I think they were that ship had sailed, but they're not playing like that. I mean, they had some inspirational moments in the series, though. I got to say, David, so I was watching the Vikings game on Monday night, as I think probably many listeners were, except for Hogs. There's the moment.
He was too. It's Monday night.
That's true. He might have been. Yeah. And Blake Cashman, the linebacker for the Vikings, kind of pulled up lame. I don't know about you, David, but I immediately thought, I know what he's got, right? Because we've watched soft tissue injuries pop up so much.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
So didn't you immediately think of Royce Lewis in that moment?
No, I don't. It's really hard for me to do the cross sport analogy, a little bit because especially in football where it's just so common. Baseball injuries happen a lot, especially with pitchers with arm injuries and stuff. But with football, Dan, it's just you expect 2 or 3 guys to go down each game. So it's really difficult for me to see a Vikings player go down and be like, oh yeah, just like Royce Lewis. But I do understand the comparison here where he's grabbing at the knee, that sort of situation.
Well, he touched his leg in a certain way and he walked up he's out for 4 or 5 weeks. There's no way he's coming back any sooner than that. If Royce can't come back, Blake Cashman can't either.
Wow. Shots fired at Blake Cashman for some odd reason.
He's a Minnesotan, actually. He's much more Minnesotan, actually, than Royce is. Anyway.
Well, yeah, as Royce proved here in Game 1, showing his true Southern California colors. But let's, with that, Dan, let's go ahead and jump into the recap.
Series recap.
Game 1, Twins win this 12-3. The timing was perfect, right? Because I finished watching the Vikings come back, and when I turned on the Twins game, they just kept scoring runs. It was just every inning at the end there. They looked like such a better baseball team than the Angels did at that point.
No, I agree. The timing was fantastic. I had a bunch of guys over to watch the Vikings game. Then they all went home, and I had the Twins on the small TV, and so I was cleaning up watching the Twins. I had something to watch while I was cleaning up here. But this was an ugly baseball game, Dan, so I'm glad I wasn't watching too closely during the Vikes game here. 6 errors between the two teams. SWR on the mound, a decent outing, I think. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks. Top of the second, Royce Lewis gets the scoring started early with a 2-run homer. Twins are up 2-0. Royce has got a ton of family sitting front row, and so they are going nuts when he hits this homer. And I hate to be this optimistic guy, but my goodness, Dan, that swing looked like a 2023 Royce Lewis swing to me.
He is the one.
I don't know if you've heard some interviews with him. He's talking about how it's been a rough year in terms of he just hasn't felt right. He hasn't felt like he's had his swing, and that seemingly the coaching staff is to blame here for all of his problems. All this
and
finicking.
The arbitration stress, Dan.
Well, absolutely. It's very difficult to be, facing arbitration. But he did look good in this game. He hit another one later. Angels did answer that initial one with 3 in the bottom of the second, stringing together some hits. There was also an error by Mickey Gasper. That was a bit of a theme here. But then the top of the third, the Twins tied on a Keyshaw Rizzo RBI single, followed by an Austin Martin single and a Matt Wallner walk. And then, as I mentioned, Royce Lewis strikes again with another 2-run shot following a Larnach single in the top of the fifth, and the Twins are up 5-3.
And honestly, that just started the ball rolling here, Dan. So things were in motion for the Twins. They'd add 2 in the sixth on a home run from James Outman. His first is a twin, then a series of a walk, a hit by pitch, then a throwing error leads to another run. And then they played 2 more in the eighth after a couple of hits and another error by the Angels. It's interesting. All of the errors seem to happen anytime Royce was in the box. So it's like he either hit home runs
Maybe
or
he's got an
errors.
angel with him, David, right? Like there's one rubbing his shoulders.
It's like a pun. It's a play on
I
words.
knew this was coming eventually, Dan. I just wasn't sure when you would work it in here. But
Man,
so
it was great. Pulling on the
to
foul
finish-
pole in the outfield. It
Yes.
was fantastic.
Well, speaking of the right field pole, Dan, so to finish things out, the Twins actually played 3 runs in the ninth. The big hit comes on a Matt Wallner 2 RBI double that should have been out number 3. And the thing is, if you look at the box score, you would just have no idea what happened. You would just assume that Matt Wallner hit a double to the gap between right and center field, right? But that's why you have to look at the highlights here, folks, because outfielders don't get credited with nearly enough errors is the long and short of it. So
That is true, yeah.
the ball is hit. It's a fly ball to right field. It looks like Lugo has the ball, like he's going to be catching it in foul territory. The ball then, it doesn't seem like it'd been that windy of a night, Dan, and it's LA. They don't have
I knew
wind
exactly
there.
what to do, but in a much more
Yes.
real sense, I had no idea what to do.
Very much so. The ball lands in fair territory, like 10 feet behind him. Like, I have no idea how he got as turned around as he did, but that lands fair, and then Luke Keeschel follows that up with an RBI single. Twins win this one 12-3. A shockingly good showing from the bullpen here. 4 innings pitched between Adams, Tonkin, and Cabrera. 4 walks, 7 Ks, no earned runs, though, Dan.
I know. I'm telling you, actually, the more we talk about this, the more I am convinced that the Angels were on the Twins' side. Like, like the ones with the halos and the wings, right? Not the ones
Yes.
with the baseball bats. Because then in game 2, actually, it totally flipped. It was like they changed, I don't know, it's like they changed dugouts because the Angels win this one 12-2. Fewer Twins highlights here win this one, to say the least. Just the inverse of game 1. So the Angels hung 3 on Zebby Matthews in the first inning, and he settled, right? But the Twins kind of did nothing really to help him out there. Twins do finish with 6 hits, 2 of them in the ninth. Ryan Fitzgerald, don't call him James Outman, hits a home run here. It's his second Major League home run since we forgot to mention his first one. We will come back to him a little bit later. Otherwise, Kyle Hendricks shut down the Twins across 7 innings. A vast improvement over his April start in Minnesota when he allowed 7 earned runs across 3 innings and also hit Luke Keeschel and sank the Twins season in that one there. So I kind of was waiting for Luke Keeschel to just charge the mound just out of spite, but he never did.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
It was 84 mile an hour. Anyway, Pearson Ole, David, who we have spoken about many times over the last month, made his triumphant return to the Twins. 4 earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched. Rocco apparently said he's going to use him differently now, so the piggybacks are done. But this was not a good showing for him. Hatch followed with an inning of his own, 3 earned runs. Can you play the sounder, David, the one that we want?
Wait, which one are you looking
The
for? I
snap,
don't even
crackle,
know.
pop.
Oh, yes. Sorry. What, for Hatch?
Because right now, to me, the snap, the crackle, and the pop are Ole, Hatch, and Krisky. Like, those are the 3.
Okay, so first of all, how would I have known that's what you wanted me to play
I just
there?
assumed that's what you were going to play. I thought we were of one mind here when it
No.
came to these.
Not there, Dan.
We'll talk about Ryan Fitzgerald, like I said, more later. Buxton did return to the lineup in this game. He had a couple singles, which was nice. Stole his 22nd base of the season. Still has not been caught.
Do you think he's going to get to 30?
I
I
think
didn't
he-
want to
I
talk
think he
about this in
wants
Mauer's
to.
musings. Yeah, I think so for sure. But it just seems how cool would it be for him to have a 30-30 season?
And I don't know his incentives. He might have an incentive in his contract for that too, but just like the morale boost that could be for the team to have him go in and be a 30-30. The Twins have never had one, I believe.
Well, and it'd be nice too because some people might actually show up to the ballpark in the games where he could do it. Like they might have more than 12 people there. But let's go on to game 3. This was really the disappointing game of the series, certainly. Like game 2 is a blowout, whatever, you lost that game. But game 3, Twins had a lot of opportunities here. They dropped this one 4-3. The Angels starting pitcher in this game was well known to us, Dan. Jose Urena, who is now with his 5th MLB team this season, the Mets, Toronto, the Dodgers, Minnesota, and now the Angels. Dan, it's like it's like he took a couple of weeks off work and said, I'm going to do a cross-country road trip, because he went from the Mets to Toronto. Then he's like, okay, now the straight shot to Dodgerland in L.A. Now to Minnesota, North Dakota. and then back to L.A. Like, you would need a Muppet map to follow this guy's trajectory as he moved throughout the MLB.
Look at you navigating geography, David, so confidently there. I'm very
All
impressed
of
with what you
those
just
are
did.
places I have a general idea where they are.
Because they're so far away from each other. Actually,
Yes.
To be fair, Toronto, I really don't know where Toronto is. It's kind of in Canada, but south a little bit. It's one of those that throws me off.
I do like that you're the one struggling with geography
Well,
here.
I'm going to be honest about it.
Deep cut here, real quick. So I love board games. Obviously, Ticket to Ride is a board game. They have the city in Minnesota. They've got it in the wrong spot. So they have Minneapolis up where Duluth is.
Totally.
It's
yeah.
not good. It's not good.
Duluth, that's in North Dakota.
That's
Exactly.
basically what the designers did.
Yes.
They watched Sleepless in Seattle too many times. Anyway, David, on to this game here. So Taj Bradley continues to improve with each scouting report he reads here. 6 1/3, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks, the 1 home run. But then the Twins have a chance in the top of the first. They actually had a decent amount of chances in this game, which I think is what makes it so frustrating.
Yes. So here we have Larnach singles, Keishel doubles. Larnach tries to score, and he's thrown out by like 4 feet. It was a little close, but not that close. And all this made me think of, Dan, is we have talked very rarely about Tommy Watkins this season. And I wonder, is it because there haven't been that many bad calls, or because we care so little about the games that are happening, Dan?
I think it's the second. I'm sure Tommy would rather it be the first, but I think it's the second.
Anyway, top of the third here, James Outman homers for his second time in this series. Second time as the Twin, puts him up 1-0. The Angels give 2 walks and a double to Larnach, but the inning ends on a Cody Clemens lineout. Bottom of the third, the Angels answer with 3, including a 2-run shot from Zach Neto. And then top of the fourth, the Twins with another opportunity. The theme of this game, Dan, opportunities wasted. But 2 outs, back-to-back walks, and a hit by pitch to load the bases. But then Austin Martin strikes out swinging. That's actually another theme of this game, Dan.
Yeah.
Top of the 6th, Buxton hits a 2-run shot to tie it at 3. And so you're thinking, okay, this could be a good baseball game. Bottom of the 6th, James Outman, Dan, having himself a series with a great catch, almost a home run robbery. Not quite. It was definitely going to stay in the ballpark. It would have hit off like the top of the wall. But he robbed that from Zach Neto. And then top of the 8th, Outman gets on base with a double. Buxton is intentionally walked, and then Martin K's with, it was 3 pitches, Dan. And all 3 of the ones that he swung at were definitely hittable.
No, they totally were. It's funny you mentioned Outman, because later on in the game, I believe it was, he tried for a robbery, then lost his glove over the outfield wall.
Yes.
Bottom of the 8th, the Angels do score on a Mike Trout sac fly. Following a triple by their number 9 hitter, Teodosio, the Twins lose this one then, again, 4-3. And as you have alluded to, they finish 0-for-7 with runners in scoring position.
You know, Dan, and part of the reason why guys go 0-for when they're out on the town trying to get them digits from those ladies is their hair is a mess. And you know what they need, Dan? They need products from Duke Cannon in their hair, Dan. The women will come calling. They make high-quality grooming products for hardworking men. Minnesota-based and with an all-new look, their clean new packaging featuring the Big D is unmistakable on the shelves. Whether you go for a brick of soap, thick body wash, deodorant, hair care, beard care, or cologne, Duke Cannon will have you smelling your best. Look for the Big D at Target, Walmart, Amazon, or DukeCannon.com. Once you try it, you'll be hooked. Work harder, smell better, Duke Cannon.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
Got to admit, I'm a little upset with Royce Lewis here.
You were the chosen one.
I had a big lead after game 1, and then he had negative points in games 2 and 3. And this actually allowed you, David, to pull ahead here. Byron Buxton gets you the win with 10 points. I had Lewis with 8. Keishal, for the listeners, had 5. Hogs, because somebody has to pick 4th. He took Martin for 1 point. But David, you got to talk about the standings, because dare we say you got a chance?
This is fascinating, because I thought I was out of Puckett's picks like forever ago. And actually, if you look at like my wins have been so rare. Like at the beginning of the season, I strung a few together, and then it's been real spotty, Dan, as far as victories are concerned. But I'm picking up the bonus points. Now, Dan, you're in the lead at 16.5. Hogs is in second at 15, but Hogs has been stuck on 15 for I don't even know the last time that guy won one of these Puckett's Picks things. Now I'm in third at 14, Dan, which is 2 series away from me potentially taking the lead from you. And the listeners are at 12, who, again, potentially could make a comeback. This is going to come down to the wire, Dan.
I know. Hogs is pointless in the last 11 series here. So you've won 4 of the last 6, picking up 3 of those half-point bonuses. So there is still some intrigue here as we head into the final 5 series.
More interesting than the Twin standings. I can say for sure.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Well, I got to go with Buxton, Dan. I mean, I knew his knee was fine. Everybody else was concerned.
I don't believe that man's ever been to medical school.
But I knew, Dan. In my heart of hearts, I knew. He went 3 for 6 with a stolen base and 2 RBI. He's amazing, Dan, and I'm really excited. I hope he gets to 30-30, and I hope he does it in a home game here so I can be in attendance.
I went with Royce. He still had a wonderful game 1. He was wearing those Vikings cleats too, so you got to appreciate that, the support for the home team. He still had a good series, and it is good to see him finishing well.
Certainly. On my bench, Dan, Brooksley, where are you? You know, in Scooby-Doo.
His parents were probably there too, right? I mean, they probably made the drive back down again from Cal Poly.
0 for 9. To be fair, he didn't have any errors, which is kind of shocking with the way the season has gone so far for Brooksley. He's had some trouble in the infield here.
So I'm going to go with Cody Clemens, who had none of those magical bat flips, none of those romantic moments. 0 for 9, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. He struck out to end game 3 and just didn't have any big moments for the Twins here when they really could have used him, certainly in game 3.
Yeah, I do wonder what he's going to look like, Dan. We're going to talk a little bit more about him a little bit later. Let's go ahead and talk about Rocco, though.
Rocco's Rewind.
We're both talking about game 2, Dan. And mine's towards the beginning and yours is towards the end. And I want to know, Dan, how early do you think Rocco decided this was going to be a Pearson-Ole, Thomas Hatch game in game 2?
I mean, probably not until the bottom of the 5th or the 6th, right? Because it was still a 3-0 game through the first 5. You might go to one of them and say, hey, Pearson, can you get me a couple innings here? But I think by the 6th, when it was 5-0 at that point, the Twins' bats hadn't shown much muster. So I think that's probably when he went to it.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Yeah, pretty early in game 2, maybe the bottom of the 5th after they put up a couple more runs. They're like, Rocco's like, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and just go to the cleanup guys who are going to be demoted pretty soon anyway. But I have to think, Dan, looking at game 3, the way that Taj Bradley pitched, like, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you go 6 innings pitched, I'm happy if you give up 3 earned runs. That's fine. Like, that's a good outing as far as I'm concerned. But you have to think Rocco savors those moments now, knowing that he saved his big arms for game 3 because game 2 was this Hatch-Ole combination piggyback outing here.
Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispie.
Hang on, I'll play it just for you, Dan.
Snap, crackle, pop, Rice Krispies.
Because, of course, we're on the same wavelength that I thought that's what you wanted me to play.
You knew to say that. So, okay, well, it's interesting you didn't mention one of his relief pitchers, Ryan Fitzgerald, because Ryan Fitzgerald had an interesting appearance in game 2. So he comes in for the 8th, I think it would have been, I'm adding up all the partial innings, and he allows 2 hits, but no earned runs. Position player Ryan Fitzgerald.
There we go.
Fascinatingly, then, he hits a home run in the top of the 9th here. And good on Rocco for having the foresight to make this historic moment possible, because he is only now the 2nd player in the majors this season to do that as a pitcher, to pitch a scoreless inning and hit a home run. The only other guy to do that, David?
Money.
Wavelength, from the same wavelength. Shohei Ohtani, right, is the only other guy this season, because technically Fitzgerald was still the pitcher in the top of the 9th when he hit that home run. Isn't that cool?
That is I mean, yes, it's definitely a cool thing. It's just like when Clemens struck out Ohtani, right? It's a similar vibe. Certainly.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that probably transitions well into our Minnesota moment here.
I love it, Dan.
Minnesota moment.
Dan, if this isn't a telltale sign that the season hasn't gone as well for the Twins as we'd hoped. Phil Miller of the Star Trip, great writer. You know, he follows the Twins, always providing great updates and stats and things like that. He went to interview James Outman because he had hit his first home run as a Twin. Well, Dan, I've done this a few times, and so this actually makes me feel a little bit better. However, in his context, I'd argue this is a little bit harder to chew through, I think. So Phil Miller enters the clubhouse. Ryan Fitzgerald, Dan, his locker is right next to James Outman. They have very similar hairstyles. I guess he was wearing street clothes, but so Phil Miller interviewed Ryan Fitzgerald thinking that he was James Outman, which I wanted to ask you, Dan. Have you? Well, first of all, Phil Miller even said, like, I didn't use any of the quotes because they were so generic, but it makes a lot of sense. He didn't know how to answer the questions that I was asking him. But have you ever interviewed someone, Dan, thinking they were somebody else?
Yes. Okay. So this is actually funny you ask. So this is my first job. I'm working in Pocatello, Idaho, of all places. And we have this is the early aughts. So we just have a list of phone numbers, like on a text file or something like that. And I'm trying to reach a guy named Jarrett Johnson. And I was writing a story about NFL Europe. If you remember NFL Europe, he was a kicker for Idaho State. No, nobody does because it's forgettable. He's a kicker for Idaho State. And it's the summer. And I think I got to write a story about something. So I call him and I'm thinking, I'm going to talk to Jarrett Johnson. So I get him on the phone and we're talking and I'm starting to talk about kicking. And he doesn't know what I'm talking about. And then finally I say, well, aren't you Jarrett Johnson? And he's like, no, this is Jared Allen. And I was on the phone with future NFL Hall of Famer Jared Allen, who's also an Idaho State alum. He told me at the time he'd just gotten back from running with the Bulls in Pamplona, Spain. And I'm like, this is a very different phone call than I thought.
Did you write an article about that? That sounds way more
ironically, I did not
European
have
football.
the journalistic sixth sense to do anything with that key information. So yes. So I spoke with Jared Allen. Years later, I talked to him again, and I got to tell him that story. But yes, I have made this mistake. I know I've been in the spot before that Phil Miller was.
Did Jared Allen, did he find it funny when you recanted this tale?
He was just a little bit, I think, insulted that I had mistaken him for an NFL Europe kicker and not the future Hall of Famer that he was.
Well, but he wasn't was he playing in the NFL?
He was with
at that
Kansas
time?
City at the time, so he was doing well. I mean, he was doing well for himself. This was pre-Vikings, I think. So anyway,
Gotcha.
So that was kind of my embarrassing Phil Miller moment right there.
I think we need a skull horn, for how
that's a
often we're
good
mentioning
idea.
the Vikings now. We should add that as a sounder, Dan.
Ooh.
Or, you know what? I'm going to put in the horn of Gondor and see if anybody notices.
The same
that
thing.
it's not
I will notice
yeah.
the difference, but most people will not.
What are we talking about?
Well,
Minnesota
speaking
moment?
of, yes, so actually, Minnesota moment. I saw this all over social media, and I think this is right. So Monday, the Twins and the Vikings won a road game, which is not that weird of a stat, for the first time on the same day since 1985. For all the Sundays in September that they would have played at the same time, there's got to be many opportunities for that stat to come true, right?
Yeah, but there's been a lot of bad Twins teams and a lot of bad Vikings teams, Dan.
I guess so. Anyway, that was a fun moment because that Monday night was really a joy to go from one win to another.
Oh, no question. It was a great night. I had a lot of fun with the guys who came, and it was just, couldn't ask for a better Minnesota sports night. I feel a little bad, though, for all the kids who got to stay up to watch the first half of the Vikes game, and then they had to go to bed before the second half, and it's like, wow, how disappointing. But fun when you woke up the next morning and found out they won. But let's go into the Mauer's musings here, Dan.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Mauer's musings.
All right, so there's a guy we haven't talked about yet tonight.
Oh, Canada.
Do we ever talk about him?
Well, I know. They did mention this on the broadcast. Eddie Julien is out of options now. What do you do with Eddie Julien if you're the Twins?
Do you mean like in baseball or in life? Like where we
in baseball. I mean, do you steal his cool shirts and then just send him on his way?
He'd clear waivers, I think. I just think that
so?
he hasn't shown sustained success. It's been too long at the major league level, and he slumped so hard as a sophomore that maybe someone takes a flyer on him, but his defense isn't good enough to play every day. And you're not going to put him at DH because he's not getting on base at the clip he was when he first came up as a rookie. I just think there's not a lot to work with there, Dan. Something happened mentally between his freshman season and his sophomore season, and it just doesn't look like he can snap back to reality and understand what the strike zone is at the major league level.
It's a bummer, right, for what we thought that he was going to be. I can see another team seeing it and saying, well, this is a reclamation project, like a Willie Castro almost, or somebody like that.
Yeah.
You know, where the Detroit cast beside the Twins got it. But it's sad to me. It makes me feel sad that this is where his career is at, where he could probably do what you just described.
I think what makes it hard is that we all were saying from the get-go, his fielding's got to get better, but my goodness, the bat's there. His prowess in the box is so good. And now that it's both things are struggling, it's like, oh man, how disappointing. I mean, I am not throwing away my shot. Him and Miranda, maybe it's just recency bias here, but do you remember two guys who we thought were going to be everyday guys who just weren't? In the same way that these two guys have been?
Brutal. I don't remember it. You're right. I mean, it is a little recency. It builds the argument that the Twins are not good at developing players and bringing them from that entry level MLB player to that regular MLB player. that's worrisome, I suppose. Those examples are when I look at a guy like a Luke Keeschel, even Royce Lewis to a degree. Like, do players need to do well in spite of the coaching that they're receiving here? It's the best argument to me that you need to move on from the current management and coaching staff.
Yeah, make a move here. So I sort of want to ask something related to that, but just real briefly, Dan, do you think J.J. McCarthy is going to be the answer for your Vikings?
He is the one.
Oh, absolutely. I'm convinced. Did you see that post-game speech, David? I'm all in. I'm ready. I'm hyped up. Put me on the field, coach.
Those are my absolute favorite when Kevin O'Connell is given the game balls and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic. Chills.
Oh, love it.
We're not going to have this conversation on Sunday, me and Hogs. I don't think it's going to be the same.
You should try your best to have it.
I'll see what I can do.
And I hope that Parsons gets stuffed all game and has no sacks and doesn't impact the game at all. But anyway, okay, my real question though, Dan, it does relate to coaching and understanding how defense is 50% of the game of baseball, Dan. So the Twins are averaging more than an error a game in at least their last 4 series. Let's assume through some miracle, everything else goes well. They hang on to the starting pitchers. They rebuild the bullpen somehow. And then you kind of have these offensive guys who are showing that they can do it from time to time. Do you think this infield can be good enough to not hinder the success, assuming everything else again goes perfectly for this team next season?
I think they'd rise to the occasion. I think they'd see the moment, the gravity of what they're about to have to do to try to, win games that matter in August and September. And they would seize it and they would play better defensively.
With all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Exactly, right? Right. That's what I think. If the moon landing was going just fine, right, then those great minds at NASA would have had nothing to do on the Apollo 13 mission. But thank goodness there were all those disasters, because then they had to solve a problem. And that's the Twins infield right now. They will rise to the moment when they have to.
Hey, and you think we went to the moon, Dan? One of my favorite memes ever was anytime you talk to a conspiracy theorist, you just out conspiracy them. And so they're like, we never landed on the moon. And you say things like, you think there's a moon?
You just go one level up. Do you think that their defense will get better magically? Am I way off base here?
No, I think Keeschel will get better. Keeshel's still so young. I think we got to remember that. The problem I have, though, Dan, is that we don't know who's going to play first base next season, and we barely know who's going to catch next season.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him watch.
It's incredibly hard.
Great use of the sounder, by the way. But the left side of the infield, I think that Brooks Lee, his defense, as long as his bat continues to improve, I think he'll be fine at shortstop. And Royce Lewis has proven himself to be somewhat effective at third base. Yeah. Effective enough for a guy who's going to hopefully be the offensive heart of the lineup next to Buxton. Yeah. So it could improve. I think you need a better first baseman a good first baseman, Dan, can make up for a lot of ills from poor throws from the rest of the infield.
Bring back Carlos Santana here. Let's
He's
look forward here.
60 years old.
Well, let's actually, before we look forward, let's look back at this series and grade it.
Series grades.
Oh.
I'm not dead.
That was for Carlos Santana there.
Oh, yes, of course. It's got to be an F here, Dan. 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position in games 2 and 3. I mean, game 2 was a throwaway, but game 3 was at least winnable. But I will say there were some positives to take away from this series. The offensive pop in game 1, the starting pitching of Taj Bradley looked good. There's some positive takeaways, Dan. But again, at this point in the season, that's all I'm hanging on to is a little bit of positive moments here and there. And to be honest, I was probably just riding high after that Vikes win.
Yeah, I think for my momentum, I don't know even how to grade this now because we're just coasting to the end here. So that's going to be a nothing. Decision making, I don't feel like mattered in this series. That's a nothing. The older guys, there's very few left. Buxton played, a game and a half here. So that's a nothing. But the youth, I'm giving them a +1 because I do think that I see positive signs there. So that adds up to a 13 out of 20. It's still a D, but it's a little better than your F.
A little better than my F, Dan. Just like the weather is a little bit better than fall, but a little bit worse than summer right now.
Well, absolutely, right? And so the sun is fading, right? We get that. But Rave Sports is still your one-spot shop for all things water sports. They've been around since 1997. They're based in Eagan, and they have all the toys you and your lake life need. So give your pontoon the water patio it always wanted with an aqueduct. Take your kids on a thrill ride with a new hypertube, or just chill out with an inflatable paddleboard. It's all at Rave, and you can still use that promo code PULLTAB for 20% off your order. Whether you're a lake person or a river person, make it the best summer in 2026 you've ever had. And visit ravesports.com. Rave Sports, make waves.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Dan, the Dodgers lost their second no-hitter in the 9th in the span of 3 games. They hung on to beat the Rockies this time, but it was Tanner Scott in the 9th giving up the hit. It's a rough go for that Dodgers bullpen, Dan.
It is. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the Dodgers, though, coming off the World Series and such. But yes, Tyler, I remember watching Tyler Glasnow earlier this summer just shut down the Twins, so he is definitely capable. Speaking of shutting people down, Red Sox Aroldis Chapman hadn't given up a hit since July 23rd. It's the 3rd longest streak since 1901, but the streak was broken. We didn't jinx it, David. We didn't talk about it the whole time. But that's remarkable. A walk-off loss to the Athletics. Shea Langoliers doubled, and then Lawrence Butler hit an RBI single, which actually won the game for the A's. He didn't just blow the streak, he blew the game.
It's a rough go for Chapman, but honestly, eventually that has to end.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
All good things come to an end. But to go on a streak like that, to be that dominant, to not even give up a hit, Dan. When Shea Langoliers gets in that box, he said in a post-game interview, he's like, I'm not really thinking about the streak. I'm just thinking, hey, I got to get on base because we have a chance to win this game. But he goes, yeah, to know that he's one of the best to ever do it, and I'm the one who broke the streak does feel pretty good. It's
kind of like when I think it was Zebby Matthews struck out Mike Trout. That's a moment that you can point to later in your life and be like, dude, look what I did.
Yes. No question. I do wonder, as some of the stars of this generation continue to age, who are the next guys? Because I think the cutoff is a little bit interesting. You have the Freddie Freemans, and Ohtani is still sort of in his prime, but you have Trout, who's getting a little bit older. Mookie Betts also, he's kind of in his prime too, but he's starting to age up. Who are the next guys who are going to carry that mantle of sort of be the face of the MLB? Bobby Witt, probably. He's still young enough to kind of last, I think, a little bit here. I don't know all these guys' ages, but it's just sort of how long have they been in the league is sort of what's in my mind.
Luke Keyshaw, dare we say?
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
Let's hope, Dan Thompson. All right, let's go ahead and make our picks for the upcoming Diamondback series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night. Puckett's Picks.
The listeners are going to take Buxton, even though they didn't have faith that his knee would hold up after last outing. I think I should get to take him, Dan, for the faith I had. Hogs is going to take the aforementioned Keishel, and then they go to you, Dan.
I have to stick with Royce Lewis. I just don't know who else I have any confidence in right now.
I feel stressed now because up to this point, my picks have been sort of haphazard, whatever happens, happens. Who really cares? But now I'm starting to care, Dan. I could come back here big, and it's just really hard to find consistent points on the board. Larnach has looked rough. Lee has had a tough go of it. Ew. I'm going to take Matt Wallner.
Sure. He'll put up a big number. It's possible you could hit a couple of home runs. The other guys are going to nickel and dime, I think.
Yeah, well, you never know. And Wallner gets hit by a pitch, once every other game. So that should help the totals when it's all said and done.
All right. Well, David, I'm going to send us out here. You're not going to be with us on Sunday because Hogs will be with me. So I'm looking forward to an episode with him. It's been a while since Hogs and I spoke.
Yes, I'm looking forward to listen, Dan, and I will be happily watching my Vikes on Sunday Night Football.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Min for the Win. You can find our Min for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or a like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in our description. Thank you for listening. And as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Min for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.